Welcome to our webinar on healthy eating with prediabetes. Today, you're going to learn about what is prediabetes, three important questions for healthy eating, which are what, how much, and when to eat. We will give you easy tips to use when reading food labels, and we will talk about physical activity. Before we get into the details of healthy eating, let's talk briefly about what is prediabetes. Prediabetes is a condition where blood sugar levels are higher than normal but not yet high enough to be diagnosed as type 2 diabetes. HbA1c greater than 6 to 6.4, fasting blood sugars greater than 6 and between 6 and 6.9 are considered as prediabetes. If left unmanaged, the risk of developing diabetes will increase. Although we can't control genetics, our lifestyle is something that we have more control over. This is why the presentation will focus on healthy eating, which is an important part of a healthy lifestyle and can prevent or delay the onset of diabetes. Let's start with a true or false question. People with diabetes should eat a special diabetic diet. What do you all think? The answer is false. There is not a specific diet for people with diabetes, but is rather about healthy eating. With healthy eating, we know that one size doesn't fit all. However, but we can follow some general principles and we'll talk about that today. Healthy eating can improve your quality of life and can help in the prevention of many chronic diseases, the complications of diabetes, as well as cardiovascular diseases. It's also an important component of aging well and can help improve your mood and energy, to name a few benefits. So let's explore some ideas around how you can prioritize healthy eating and commit to your personal goal. So let's get started by talking about what to eat. In this section, we will discuss about the food groups, the importance of fiber, and the glycemic index. The Diabetes Food Guide is a colorful nutritional educational tool available to you. It describes the food groups and it tells you where carbohydrate, protein, and fats are found in food, which can help you with meal planning. Looking at this image, you can see 6 food groups, which are the vegetables, the grains and starches, the fruits, the milk and alternates, the meat and alternates, fats and oils. Understanding what nutrients are found in which food group will help with meal planning, which we will talk about later on. Notice that the 3 outer food groups from the left are high in fiber, that's plant foods, and the 3 middle ones are sources of carbohydrates. Also notice that milk and alternates and meat and alternates are both sources of protein as well as fat. Let's not forget our other food groups though, or you can also call them entertainment foods. These are highly processed and can be sources of added sugars as well as sodium, saturated and trans fats that can be harmful to us if eaten frequently. So we can enjoy them for sure, but less often and in smaller portions. You don't have to feel guilty when you have them in moderation, and which is the key. Sweetened beverages are also part of the other food group, and you can see that they contain a lot of sugar. These beverages are not found in nature, and our bodies are not well equipped to handle these. For your reference, 1 teaspoon sugar is equal to 4 grams, which will give you a better idea of sugar content when you are reading food labels. We encourage you to eat your fruit rather than drink it. Also, keep in mind that the healthiest beverage is water. If you'd like some flavor, think of adding some berries, lemon, cucumber, mint, or ginger to your water. Just some ideas if it helps. Many of you have already been exposed to food groups before, so in this next section, we will have an activity on food group trivia to help reinforce this information and make sure you understand. Sweet potatoes goes in which food group? Is it in the grains and starches, vegetables, or other choices? The right answer is grains and starches. And we are actually placing all root vegetables in the grain and starches group because they are mostly made up of starches and fiber, and both are types of carbohydrate. These foods do impact our blood sugars. What about lentils? Which group do they belong? Are they belonging to the grains and starches group, vegetables, or meat and alternates? The answer is lentils are very rich in protein, so the Diabetes Food Guide has placed them under the meat and alternates food group. Dates have a big impact on blood sugar levels as it is very sweet. This food is part of which food group? Does it belong to the fruits, grains and starches, or other choices? Dates fall into the fruit food group, and so do all dried fruits. It's important to read labels while choosing your dried fruits. Sometimes dried cranberries or apricots or other dried fruits have added sugars, and sugar is often added to fruit to help with the drying process. And reading food labels for the added ingredients is important and helps you make better choices. Also, keep in mind that when drying fruit, it shrinks and we tend to eat more. So, keep it to no more than quarter of a cup, which is the equivalent of one small apple or one portion of fresh fruit. Nuts have good fats, proteins, and they don't have an impact on blood glucose. What do you all think? Is it true or false? The answer is yes, it's true, and these can be placed in the meat and alternates or fats food group. They are part of a heart healthy diet, but you just have to be mindful of your portion and the added salt. Limit a variety of nuts to no more than quarter of a cup per day. Avocado is part of which food group? Is it fruit, meat and alternates, or fats and oils? Most of you may have thought it belongs to the fruit category, but in reality, avocados have mostly fats and they are healthy fats. So they fall into the fats and oils food group. Cheese has good proteins and fats. Which group does it go? The answer is it goes into the meat and alternates food group. Cheese is a dairy product. If you recall, the Diabetes Food Guide indicates that there are carbohydrates in milk and alternates food group. This is why we place milk and yogurt there. The carbohydrate they contain is lactose. However, cheese has most of its lactose removed, so the Diabetes Food Guide has cheese in the meat and alternates food group. Also important is to look at the milk fat percentage when you are buying cheese. As an example, we have a description with pictures in the next slide. So when we buy cheese, we always look for the percentage milk fat, and you want to buy cheese with milk fat less than 20%. Natural sugar like agave, maple, honey does not raise your blood glucose. Is this true or false? It is false. Even though maple syrup, honey, and agave syrup are natural sugars, they contain glucose which can raise your blood sugars. Often clients tell me that they've replaced their white sugar for brown sugar or honey. Unfortunately, I have to tell them that they are the same and affect your blood glucose in the same way. If you're reading food labels, you might have seen words like aspartame, sucralose, stevia. These types of sweeteners does raise your blood glucose levels. For more information about the different sugars and sweeteners that you might find in the foods that you eat, you can refer to the handout on sweeteners on Diabetes Canada website. This handout will show you which sweeteners affect your blood glucose and which does not. Now, going back to the Diabetes Food Guide, to summarize, the three main food groups that affect your blood sugars are right here in purple. The main food sources of carbohydrates that affect our blood sugars are the grains and starches, the fruits, the milk and alternates, and within the meat and alternates, it's only the beans, chickpeas, and lentils that have carbohydrates which can affect your blood glucose. But these carbohydrates are digested very slowly, and that's a benefit. So, not all carbohydrates are created equal. Carbohydrates come in three main forms: simple sugars, starch, and fiber. The carbohydrate on this slide can get broken down into sugar when they are digested. Simple sugars are 1 to 2 molecules in length. There are different types, and you might have seen names like glucose, sugar, maltose, sucrose, lactose. Many of these names ending in OSE on food labels are simple sugars. Starch. These are very large chains of sugar units linked together. Starch takes a little longer to break down than simple sugars because the molecule is much larger, so digestion takes longer. How about fiber? Fiber is the third kind of carbohydrate, and it does not get digested, and it has many benefits. You can see in the picture that food sources of fiber are plant foods, including whole grains, but not their refined versions. It does not increase blood glucose because it does not get broken down, and so it slows down digestion. It makes you feel full for a longer period of time, so it's helpful in weight management. It promotes healthy bowels, and also food that is high in fiber are food for healthy gut bacteria. It binds cholesterol, and so it can help reduce it. We know that, and that it promotes healthy bowels, and there is much research being done on this. Our gut microbiome plays a very important role in our health by influencing our immune system and metabolism. Now, let's talk about uh, insulin, how it reduces our blood sugars. So, we can understand this by looking at an example of how carbohydrates can get digested. Assume that you're eating an apple. Apple contains natural simple sugars and fiber, so they enter your bloodstream slowly to get digested. Compare this with a juice. Juice does not contain any fiber, so it enters your bloodstream very quickly. Now, once the sugar gets into your bloodstream, your pancreas secretes a hormone called insulin, which is the key that brings the sugar into your cells to make energy. In this diagram, the cells are represented by the little house. People with diabetes produce less insulin and can also have insulin resistance, which is when the insulin key does not open the door to your cells to let glucose in. Insulin resistance can be improved by maintaining a healthy weight and with physical activity as well as healthy diet. Also, if we eat balanced meals and include fiber in our diet, the digestion process is slowed down and gives more time to your body to produce the insulin that it needs so that you can keep up better. The next section that we were going to talk about is the glycemic index. Now, Diabetes Canada recommends people with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes choose more often from the lower glycemic index food group. The low GI diet can help you decrease risk of type 2 diabetes and its complication, decrease risk of heart disease and stroke, makes you feel full for a longer period of time, maintain or help lose weight. The GI is a scale out of 100 that ranks a carbohydrate containing food by how much it raises your blood sugar levels. The Glycemic Index Guide is a great tool that lists common foods containing carbohydrate into three categories that are color coded as follows. It uses a traffic light system. Green is go, it's low GI, 55 or less. This is what you want to choose most often. Yellow is caution, medium GI, 56 to 69. Choose less often. Red is you want to stop and think before you choose foods from this group as it has a higher glycemic index, which is 70 or more, and you want to choose this least often.
On this slide, we are comparing a slice of white bread to a slice of heavy mixed grain bread to show the difference between a low and a high glycemic index food. The graph shows your blood sugar over time. So the red curve is what happens after having had a slice of white bread compared to the yellow curve, which is after having a heavy mixed grain bread. Foods with a high glycemic index, such as white bread, increase blood sugar higher and faster than foods with a low glycemic index, such as a heavy mixed grain bread. To better understand how the glycemic index works, let's take a look into rice specifically. We all know that it's okay to eat a moderate amount of rice, but which type of rice is best for you? As you can see, jasmine rice is a high glycemic index food, but can be swapped with types of rice that are in the medium and or low glycemic index category. We encourage you to think about your staples and look through this list to see if you would benefit from switching to some low glycemic index alternatives. On this slide, we see the list of fruits in the glycemic index handout. And you will notice that our example here is for bananas. So if we choose a banana that is brown or overripe, so that means it's a high glycemic index food. So try to choose least often a banana like that. But try your best to choose probably a banana that is ripe or yellow, or even better, like green or unripe, because the low glycemic index is actually much less, and it's okay to choose that more often. So let's talk now about how much to eat. In this section, we're gonna discuss about strategies like the plate model and the handy portion guide that will help you to know how much to eat. Canada's food guide is a good tool for healthy eating. It suggests you plan your portions the following way. Fill half your plate with vegetables and fruits. People with diabetes should choose more vegetables and fruit because most vegetables have less sugar. Divide the other half of your plate between proteins and whole grain foods. Another way of looking at the plate model is this plate from the Diabetes Canada website on the right side. This is similar to the food guide, but the only thing is that vegetables at the meal are more emphasized than fruits. If you have a larger appetite, you can add a glass of milk and a fruit to this plate. Otherwise, you can spread your fruit consumption throughout the day and include them as snacks. We'll talk about snacks later. So some tips for building your plate here are: try to choose a variety of vegetables through the week, as different colored vegetables have different nutrients. Starchy root vegetables such as potato, corn, cassava belong in the grains and starches portion of the plate. For the grains and starches section, you can choose the lower glycemic index foods more often, as we've discussed. As for the protein part of the plate, you can see the fish, lean meats, as well as legumes like beans, lentils, chickpeas that belongs in this area. Try to have legumes in the diet a few times a week as well as fish, as these foods are notably good and part of a heart-healthy diet. You can use the Eat Well plate as a guide to make half of your breakfast vegetables and fruits. It's all about being creative. You can try having a sliced apple on top of toast with peanut butter, adding lots of vegetables to a frittata or breakfast sandwich, filling half of your bowl of oatmeal with berries and chopped fruits, making a vegetable omelette with a side of fruit and half a whole grain bagel. You can see the example on this slide have a starch, a protein, and a vegetable or fruit. Mindful eating is also another strategy to help you with how much to eat. This concept ranks your level of hunger before eating and halfway through the meal. The scale is from 1 to 10. 1 feeling famished and 10 feeling stuffed. If you are at 6 or above, stop and save the leftovers. If you are below 6, continue eating slowly until you are satisfied. Let's pause for a second to focus on the healthy fats. We want to reduce saturated and trans fat and replace this with unsaturated fats. Saturated fats are found in processed foods like chips, sweets, and hard fats such as lard, and some oils like coconut and palm oil. There are saturated fats in meats and dairy, which is why we recommend lean cuts of meat and low-fat dairy more often than high-fat alternatives. Low-fat dairy includes skim or 1% milk and yogurt, plus cheese in moderation, trying to choose those cheeses that are less than 20% of milk fat. Sources of healthier fats are listed here. Among the vegetable oil, extra virgin olive oil is particularly noticeable in its healthful properties. Margarine is better than butter as it has less saturated fat. Fatty fish is recommended in the diet for its benefit on heart health, and we recommend to have 2 servings a week if you can. Other sources of omega-3 are ground flax and walnuts. A variety of nuts in the diet have also been seen as beneficial component of a heart-healthy diet. In addition to what you eat and how much you eat, when you eat can also have an impact on your blood glucose levels. In this section, we're gonna discuss about guidelines and also healthy snacks options. Eating your meals distributed evenly throughout the day can be helpful when it comes to managing your diabetes and your blood glucose levels. So here are some guidelines. Eat 3 meals per day. Focus on eating at regular meals. Space meals no more than 4 to 6 hours apart. And you may benefit from a healthy snack if meals are spaced more than 6 hours apart. Snacks have an important role when it comes to mindful eating and can be an important part of your meal if you have diabetes. But how many snacks should you have each day? And what should you snack on? Here is a list of healthy snacks combinations. Choose a protein and a carb option for a balanced snack. Then ask yourself, do I need to eat snacks? You are more likely to need snacks throughout the day if you eat your meals longer than 4 to 6 hours apart and or eat smaller meals. Also, if you're taking certain medication, you're more likely to need a snack, or if you're exercising. Here are some examples of combinations. You can have a banana or an apple or a pear with 1/4 cup of unsalted peanuts. Another option could be 2 cups of home-popped unsalted plain popcorn with roasted soya nuts. Or another example could be like steamed edamame with 1 fresh orange. Healthy eating doesn't have to be boring. There are so many ideas to make it fun and adapt it to your own cultural foods. Here is a list of websites that have a variety of ideas and recipes. Know that the Unlock Food website has tips on how to modify your traditional recipes and make a healthier version. The diabetes recipe booklet in unlockfood.ca can be used to modify your recipes to your culture. We've looked at how much to eat, what to eat, and when to eat. How about packaged foods? This is when label reading is very important. How do food labels help? You can compare between labels and make better choices. So what do you look for in a food label? Check the nutrients facts table and the ingredients list. What is the percentage daily value? The percentage daily value is found on the right-hand side of the nutrients fact table, and it is a guide to help you make informed choices. It shows you if the serving size has a little or a lot of a nutrient. 5% of daily value or less, it's a little, and 15% the daily value or more, it's a lot. The nutrients that you need less of are sodium, fat, especially saturated and trans fats, and cholesterol, and also sugar. On the other hand, the nutrients that you need more of are fiber, protein, vitamins, and minerals. As you all know, keeping active is good for everyone, but it's especially important for people with diabetes. In this section, we're going to cover the guidelines and also the benefits. On this slide, you can see all the benefits of keeping active, and for some of you, it might be the reason why you keep motivated. The important takeaway message is that every form of physical activity counts when it comes to keeping active. There are some basics recommendations or guidelines that you should keep in mind. For aerobic exercise, we recommend 150 minutes per week or 30 minutes 5 times a week. And on the other hand, we also recommend to add resistance exercise 3 times a week. Once again, just try to think of something that you enjoy and that makes you keep consistent. How to get started? Ask yourself what activities you enjoy, how much activity are you typically getting, and is it enough? What benefit is important to you? Are there any challenges that prevent you from keeping active? Asking yourself these questions make you break the barrier that sometimes stops us to get more active. Making some lifestyle changes is probably on your to-do list to improve your diabetes management and to keep your blood sugar within your target range. However, change, whether big or small, is often hard to make and can be even harder to sustain. One solution is to set goals for yourself and outline the steps you'll take to achieve them. For the best chance at success, experts say make your goals SMART, meaning that they should be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Start by thinking about what matters most to you. Your diabetes goals and priorities should match. If we practice to set a SMART goal, we can say something that I will start exercising. So it's a very broad and general goal. And if we wanted to make a SMART goal, then we should say something like, I will start to walk 5 minutes every day this week.